What if the details in that work of fiction matched a real crime scene with a precision that defies all logic, a chilling symmetry that could not possibly be coincidence? What if that story contained secrets that only the killer could have known? A dark blueprint left behind, as if daring the world to see it, as if taunting the very investigators tasked with solving the crime. A missing man, a body in a river, and a novel that whispered a truth no one was supposed to connect. In the world of the perfect crime, the biggest risk isn't leaving a fingerprint, a weapon, or a witness. It isn't a slip of the tongue or a momentary lapse in judgment. No, the greatest danger is far more insidious. It's the arrogance of the perpetrator. It's the pathological, almost primal need to be seen, to be recognized as the mastermind of a masterpiece. It's the compulsion to leave a signature, not in blood, but in ink. This is the story of a crime that resurfaced through words, and the terrifying mystery of why those words were written at all. December 2000, the Oder River near Wrocław, Poland. A biting winter chill hangs over the water, turning the air into a thin, icy mist that clings to everything it touches. The sky is the color of steel, low, heavy, indifferent. The river moves with a slow, deliberate current, dark and opaque, hiding whatever it chooses to carry. Workers at a water intake station are going about their routine when one of them notices something snagged on the facility's grates. At first it looks like debris, a tangle of clothing perhaps, or a discarded bundle caught in the flow. But as it drifts closer, the shape becomes distinct, unmistakable, human. The man is face down. His arms are contorted behind his back, his hands bound tightly with a heavy, coarse rope. The same rope is looped around his neck, not as a garrote, but as a controlled, almost clinical restraint. A knot tied by someone who understood exactly how to break a man. Someone who had done this before, or had imagined it so vividly that practice was unnecessary. The body is recovered. The area is sealed. Police begin the grim work of documenting a murder. At the medical examiner's office, the autopsy is clinical, brutal, and devoid of ambiguity. The victim shows signs of severe, prolonged torture, deep bruising that blackened across his torso, structural beating that fractured bone, and multiple stab wounds delivered with precision. The cold river water had slowed decomposition, preserving the horror of what had been done to him. But there are no defensive wounds, no torn fingernails, no frantic scratches. Whoever restrained him had total control, not just over his body, but over his final moments. Toxicology reports come back clean, no drugs, no alcohol. He was fully conscious for his own demise, alert, aware, terrified. The cause of death is drowning, compounded by torture-related injuries. But the medical examiner cannot provide a name, cannot provide a motive, cannot provide a single lead that points anywhere. The case is filed as an anonymous homicide, a body without a story. Police begin the long, thankless process of working an unidentified murder. They scour missing person reports from across the region, comparing physical descriptions against 1,000 faces. They run fingerprints through national databases. They check dental records. They interview everyone who might have seen something, heard something, known something. Everything comes back empty. The silence of the case is deafening. It's a crime stripped of context, a tragedy without a name, a puzzle with half the pieces missing. Investigators canvass the riverbanks, searching for the entry point. But the current is unforgiving. It could have carried the body for miles, upstream, downstream, through channels and tributaries. There's no way to know where he went into the water. No witnesses, no CCTV, no reports of suspicious activity. Weeks bleed into months. The case remains a ghost. Then a breakthrough, small but significant. Investigators revisit a missing person file from November 2000. Dariusz Janiszewski, a local advertising company owner who vanished without a trace. He left his office one afternoon after receiving a phone call about a potential client and never walked back through the door. His family reported him missing when he didn't return home. No one had seen or heard from him since. Dental records are requested. The comparison is made. It's a match. The nameless body in the river is Dariusz Janiszewski, but with the victim finally identified, the investigation hits a concrete wall. Police retrace his final movements, but the trail is cold. They examine his business contacts. Nothing suspicious. They review his financial records. No unusual transactions. They analyze his phone records and find that the number that lured him out was an unregistered burner line, activated briefly and then abandoned. No witnesses to his disappearance. No signs of a struggle at his office or home. No CCTV capturing him leaving with anyone. His life on the surface was ordinary, unremarkable, free of enemies, debts, or criminal ties. The torture suggests a personal motive, something deep, something visceral. But no one in his life has a reason that fits. The investigation stalls. Every lead collapses under its own weight. By 2001, the case is officially cold. The file returns to the shelf. Dust settles. Years pass in silence. Then, in 2003, a homicide detective in Wrocław sits down with a newly published novel. The book is called Amok. The author is Christian Bala, a local writer, educated, well-traveled, and relatively unknown outside literary circles. The detective reads for pleasure, but as he turns the pages, something shifts. His posture changes, his breathing slows, his eyes narrow. One chapter in particular stops him cold. It describes a kidnapping, a man lured out of his daily routine by a phone call. It describes torture, beating, restraint, rope burns, the methodical infliction of pain, and it describes the disposal of the body in a river, hands bound behind the back, rope looped around the neck, the victim left to the mercy of the current. The prose is dark, moody, intense. But that's not what unnerves the detective. It's the granularity of the violence. It's the specificity of the details. It's the way the scene mirrors the Janiszewski case with a precision that feels almost impossible. The detective checks the timeline. The book was published after the murder, but it was written before any case details were released to the public. No press release mentioned the rope. No news report described the torture or the method of restraint. Those details were never made public. They existed only in the police file and in the mind of the killer. Yet here they were, printed in black and white, sold in bookstores, read by strangers. The detective pulls the file from the shelf. Dust rises into the air. For the first time in years, the case isn't just open, it's ignited. The fiction is no longer a story, it's a ledger, a confession disguised as creativity, a psychological fingerprint left in ink. The investigation shifts. The detective begins digging into Christian Bala. Background checks reveal a man of contradictions, intelligent, articulate, charismatic, and deeply manipulative. He holds a degree in philosophy. He has traveled extensively, spending months in Asia, living in cheap hostels, drifting through countries without leaving much of a trace. Friends and acquaintances describe him in ways that are unsettlingly consistent. He's someone who enjoys provoking people, who treats conversations as intellectual sparring matches, who believes he is smarter than everyone in the room. Several recall him bragging, in vague terms, about committing the perfect crime, a boast they dismissed at the time as dark humor or literary posturing. But now, in context, those words take on a new and chilling weight. Then the first domino falls. Detectives discover that months after Janiszewski disappeared, Bala sold the victim's mobile phone on an online auction site. The transaction is documented, time-stamped, verified. Confronted with this, Bala offers a vague explanation. He claims he bought the phone from an unknown man at a market, a stranger he cannot name, describe, or produce. It's a thin veneer over a dark truth, a lie so transparent it almost offends. Then the second domino falls. Investigators revisit the phone records for that final call, the call that lured Januszewski out of his office and into oblivion. The burner number that was used was once registered to a company Bala operated. The registration trail is thin, but it's there. It's real. It's undeniable. Two solid links. Two threads leading directly to the author. Bala is no longer just a person of interest. He's the prime suspect, a man entangled in the very web he tried to weave into fiction. As detectives dig deeper, a motive begins to surface. Years before Januszewski's murder, Bala's marriage had collapsed. His wife had left him. During the separation, Bala became convinced, without evidence, that she was having an affair. He fixated on several men he believed were involved, but one name stood out above the rest: Dariusz Januszewski. Investigators uncover emails, notes, and statements from people who knew Bala at the time. They describe him as jealous, obsessive, increasingly unstable. He spoke about humiliation in terms that bordered on existential, as if his wife's actions had not just wounded him, but erased him, unmade him. He blamed Januszewski for that, and he carried that blame like a weapon waiting to be used. The timeline fits. Bala's marriage was falling apart in 2000, the same year Januszewski disappeared. Then there's Bala's travels. He left Poland shortly after the murder and spent years drifting through Asia. To investigators, it doesn't look like a vacation. It looks like a man putting distance between himself and a crime scene. It looks like running. The pieces begin to align. Bala had a personal grievance rooted in humiliation and obsession. Bala had access to the victim's phone. Bala's company number made the final call to the victim. Bala wrote a novel echoing the murder's most intimate, unreleased details. The motive is no longer theoretical. It's documented, emotional, and pointed directly at Januszewski. And the case against Bala is no longer circumstantial. It's a net tightening with every new discovery. Bala is arrested. He walks into the interrogation room not with fear, but with something far more unsettling. Calm. Almost amusement. He carries himself like an intellectual peer, treating the detectives as if they are participants in a debate he has already won. His posture is relaxed. His eyes are sharp. His smile is faint, knowing, and infuriating. He is the teacher. They are the slow students. From the very first question, Bala refuses to answer directly. He deflects, redirects, and indulges in philosophical tangents. He tries to steer the conversation toward morality, the nature of truth, the subjectivity of memory. He treats the interrogation as a game, a chess match where he's already planned 10 moves ahead. But the detectives are relentless. They present the evidence piece by piece. The phone, the burner number, the travel patterns, the novel. Each time, Bala shifts his defense. At first, he claims ignorance, then coincidence, then gaps in his memory. His answers change. His tone changes. His confidence begins to crack, hairline fractures appearing in his carefully constructed persona. When confronted with the novel's parallels to the crime, Bala insists it's pure fiction, artistic imagination. But when the detectives point out the details that were never released publicly, the rope, the restraints, the method of torture, he becomes defensive, evasive, irritated. He claims he researched police procedures, but he can't explain why his research perfectly matched a closed, unreleased case file. He claims the similarities are coincidental, but he can't produce a single source for the specifics. Then the pressure tightens further. Cell tower records show that the burner phone used to lure Januszewski was activated only briefly, and during that window, it connected to towers near Bala's home and workplace. The pattern is tight, specific, and impossible to dismiss. A witness comes forward, a former associate who remembers Bala talking about a business deal around the time of the murder, acting nervous and secretive. The associate also remembers Bala mentioning a rope, a detail never released publicly, a detail only the killer would know. Bala's stories stop holding water. His contradictions multiply. His confidence wavers. By the end of the interrogation, the detectives don't have a confession, but they have something almost as powerful, a pattern of evasion, dishonesty, and psychological unraveling that speaks louder than any admission of guilt. Christian Bala stands trial for the kidnapping, torture, and murder of Dariusz Januszewski. The courtroom is hushed. The media is present. The family of the victim sits in the front row, their faces a mixture of grief and grim determination. Prosecutors present the full chain of evidence. The victim's mobile phone, sold by Bala months after the murder. The burner number, registered to a company Bala operated, used to lure Januszewski to his death. Bala's obsessive fixation on Januszewski, documented in emails and witness testimony. His travels after the murder, timed perfectly to distance himself from the crime. The novel Amok, with its chilling, granular parallels to the murder, details only the killer could know. Cell tower data placing the burner phone in Bala's vicinity. A witness who remembered Bala mentioning a rope. Witness after witness takes the stand. They testify to Bala's arrogance, his obsession, his boasts about the perfect crime. His former wife speaks about his jealousy, his control, his inability to let go. Bala sits in the dock, his composure fraying. He denies everything. He claims artistic imagination. He insists the similarities are coincidence, that his novel is fiction, that the court is mistaking creativity for guilt. The court listens. The court considers. The court is not convinced. The judges deliver their verdict. Christian Bala is found guilty of orchestrating the murder of Dariusz Januszewski. The ruling states that Bala planned the crime, participated in it, and later wrote about it in his novel with details only the killer could know. His arrogance, his need to be seen, to be recognized, to leave a legacy, became his undoing. He is sentenced to 25 years in prison. Bala is led away in handcuffs, his composure finally shattered. The man who walked into the interrogation room with a smile walks out of the courtroom with empty eyes. His book, once obscure, becomes infamous, not for its literary merit, but for the crime it mirrored. It is analyzed, dissected, discussed. Some see it as a confession, others see it as a monument to his own ego.